very funny show. And there were loads of characterizations for me. I did all kinds of characters in it. One was an old man, grandfather, and this old man, they used to write him often as a very, you know, breathy man on the phone to Kenneth. Horns. Mr. Owen, can you hear? Yes, go ahead. I'd like to get my hands round that Judith Chalmers. This is my line. I was always trying to get my arms round Judith Chalmers. Is she here? Where? Oh, there she is, yes. Well, you didn't mind my using your name in that way, did you? It was a compliment, you see, to your nubile charms.
Tremendous compliment. What about those wonderful ballads? I mean, where did you get them from? Did you make them up?
Ah, yeah, a lot of people thought that. A lot of people thought I made them up. No, it was Marty and Barry. And they were very popular. They began as a sort of send-up of the folk thing, you know, because so many of those folk songs are phony, full of things like with a Phil-dilly ran and no, well, there's Phil-dilly dangles. They're all put in, really, because they can't think of something to make the scansion work. So they wrote these, all of which had a basic, good, solid, traditional air to them, so they weren't hard to learn. And we'll do one. We'll do a Paul, come over. Yes, it's funny, he happened to be here. They always had a preamble in front, you know, about, well, my dear ears, I've been dabbling in my gander bag and I've come up with a lugubrious lyric that goes after this fashion. Joe, he was a young court wangler, munging greebles did he go, and he loved a bogler's daughter by the name of Chiswick Flo. Light she was and like a grufset, and her gander parts were fine, but she sneered at his court wangle as it hung upon the line. So he stole a moggler's woolly for to make a wedding ring, but the Bow Street runners caught him, and the judge said, you will swing. Oh, they tied him to the postern, nailed his mooly to the fence. For to warn all young court wanglers that it was a grave offence. There's a moral to this story, though your court wangle be poor, keep your hands off others' moolies, for it is against the law. Yes, well, you have to check up on where you've got to, don't you? Well, after that, I got to theatre, didn't I? I was doing an awful lot, you know. It was theatre as well as radio, and I was a lot of filming, and I was a lot of television, too, and I think I overdid it. In any case, I went into hospital, and this surgeon said, well, rectal trouble always occurs, you know, after this kind of... You're overdoing it. I said, yes, I was overdoing it, really. He said, well, no to be ashamed. No to be ashamed at all about the Farmer Giles. I said, well, no. I don't like mentioning it, you know. And he said, no, don't worry about the hemorrhoidals. And we all know about the hemorrhoidals. Now, look here, nobody to be ashamed. Napoleon had piles. I said, did he? Yes, but he mount his horse at Waterloo. He could not mount his horse at Waterloo, and that is his sort of a fact. He couldn't. I said, it's funny you should mention that, and I played it. I did, I played Napoleon in the Annawee production on television of Napoleon. I know it sounds balmy, but I did. So I said to the producer, what made you choose me? It's unusual casting me as Napoleon. And he said, well, I couldn't think who to get, and they said, when in doubt, get someone funny. I thought, exactly a commendazione. And it was the Napoleon of the 100 Days after Elba, prior to St. Helena. Helena, isn't it? St. Helena, yes. And I told the surgeon I wore this huge stomach because they said, by this time he had carcinoma of the stomach, so you must wear this great pad. They gave me a little cotton wool down the front, so this stomach was right out, you see, while I was playing it. And it wasn't properly fixed, and during the performance, it was live. It was live, it wasn't pre-filmed. It was live television. on BBC Two, and in the middle of it all, this cotton wool went round and round and round until in the end, I'd started with a huge stump and I ended up with a vast... And they wouldn't redo it. They said, oh, no, nobody will notice. We're cutting to about there, nobody will. And it went through all right. So anyway, I had this operation. And then went into another show. By this time, I'd left frivolous theatre and I was doing straight work. I was in, again with Maggie, Privately and Public Eye by Peter Schaffer. And the surgeon had said to me, you know, never be at all neglectful, always clean this very thoroughly. And after the show, I was sitting in this dressing room with a sort of plastic pole, and I had this warm water in it, and I lowered myself gingerly onto this pole. And I was sitting there. The show had finished, and everyone had gone. And I was sitting there with this dressing gown enveloped over this pole, and knock came at the door, and I said, who is it? And this voice said, Noel. And I thought it was someone in the company larking about. And I said, oh, go away. And it opened, and Coward was standing there. And he said, what on earth are you doing? And I said, ah! And I shot up, and the pole went, oh, you know, for a bit. And the dressing gown was soaked. And he said, what on earth are you doing? And I said, well, you see, I had this operation, you know, it's an operation I had with anal trouble, and I had to have an operation. And he said, say no more, my dear, say no more. I know all about the horrors of piles. I discussed it at great length in my book, Present Indicative. You read my book, Present Indicative? I said, I didn't have piles. No, I didn't have piles. No, I had papilli. And he said, papilli? My dear, it's an island in the South Seas. Turned out he was right, it is. I got the pronunciation wrong. And we sat there and he was chatting away. And it was always delightfully encouraging. I mean, he was a wonderfully encouraging man backstage. Always said something which was constructive and really helpful as far as acting was concerned. And we were chatting away. And I said, you know, I thought of you today. It's weird you should come on this particular night, because I thought of you today as I was walking past the National Gallery. You always, you know, that gallery always reminds me of you. And he said, what on earth have I got to do with the National Gallery? And I said, you're lyric. We've seen the National Gallery open, the Houses of Parliament burn, the introduction of income tax, which gave us quite a turn. We've seen the late Prince Consort on the magic lantern screen. What an unsupersedable, wonderfully readable, drinkable, feedable, follow my leadable, this happy, breedable, oh yes, indeedable century this has been. And he said, oh, yes, I wrote it, but I don't remember. You have a better memory of my lyrics than I have, which I was delighted about. And I said, I was talking to George Rose when he was playing the apple cart when you were doing Magnus. And he told me some outrageous stories. I said, I know that's true. I always like to check up and find out if they are. And he said, what did he tell you, my dear? I said, well, he said he came on after that night. He'd been to a trattoria and had moule marinière and stunk. Actually, stunk of garlic, but you're unaware of it when you've had it yourself. You know, unaware of it. And he approached Noel on the stage for this great scene where he demands his abdication. He says, give me your abdication papers, you see. He's playing Bonerges. And Coward was supposed to produce the papers, but he didn't. And he just backed away, saying, oh, my dear, please, please, my dear. Dear, don't breathe out, you're scorching the furniture polish. Actually said, with a full house there, you know, we only need a loaf of bread and we can all have a meal. And when he told me that, I said, is it true? He said, yes, he said, it was true. And I said, of course, he told me, he had hysterics. He said, yes, I don't prove that. We can all do a bit of ad-libbing on stage, especially when it's a long run, getting rather dreary. It's a good thing, but it's no excuse for corpsing. I will not have that. He was great reliever, absolute professionalism on the stage. And, you know, you had to know the lines, had to flow trippingly on the tongue, and he would not tolerate any kind of incompetence. And when he was doing the Hay Fever production, he told Edith Evans, you know, it's not good enough, Edith, you don't know your lines. Everyone else knows their lines, you don't know yours. And she said, it's ridiculous, no, it's quite ridiculous. I mean, this morning I knew them backwards. That's how you're saying them now, dear.